What's up? My name is Chris Rubio of Rubio Long Snapping. We've got another segment of Real Talk with Rubio. We've got legendary. I think the number one from the class of 2009.
7, even older.
Seven. I was making you younger than you are.
Yes, thank
2007.
you.
The great Corey Adams, who lives in Kansas or Missouri or St. Louis. Where do you live now?
Overland Park, Kansas. So south suburbs of the Kansas City metro on the obviously Kansas side. So
Okay, good. So we're gonna go real quick. I want you to have fun with this. You and I are on a road trip, just you and I. We're going from Kansas. We're gonna go to, let's say, Florida. No, we'll go to Nashville. That's probably not too far. We're gonna go to Nashville. We've got a
yeah.
motorhome, not a big motorhome, just it's like a 30-footer, but we can both drive it. It's not one of those diesel pushers or anything like that. I want you to give me your top 5 road snacks and drink that we're gonna have on the road. Go. You have no kids with you, so it's just you, Dad.
So this is actually a controversial topic amongst
Okay.
my wife, myself. So when it comes to licorice, and I was born in California. My parents are from California. We were raised as a red vine family, so a big
Okay.
tub of red vines. She protests red vines, and she's much more of a Twizzler person. So
Okay.
I would like to get a big tub of red vines. My dad, whenever my parents drive out from Colorado out here, he will crush a tub one direction. So here and there, I'll go through 2 tubs. So red vines, I'm definitely is my 1 pick when it comes to road trip
I'm
snacks.
in for that.
My second one is pretty traditional, but sunflower seeds, like a big bag of sunflower seeds. However, as I've gotten older and shown my age a little bit, I can't eat the salted ones too much because
Oh,
dehydrates and get cramps and all that stuff like that. So I actually found this brand. I think it's called Bigs. I can't remember what it is, but
yeah.
they have sweet and salty. So it's like a kettle corn type
Ooh.
of flavoring. Doesn't eat away at your cheek, and you can just crush through them with ease. So
Okay,
I
now
would say
hold
that's
on. Are
yep.
you are you do you have the ability to like throw in a baker's dozen in there and be able to pop, chew, and get the seed out while still spitting, or are you going like one at a time?
I go cheek. I transition from cheek to cheek. So I'll go handful, start here, do the whole processing of the seed in the middle, and then store all the empties on this side. And so I'll
Wow.
go through a whole handful, spit out a big wad into a cup, and then reload again. So
Oh, now are you
that's
on this road trip? Are you spitting into cup? Or are you spitting out window?
I go cup. So so this is usually where I go for my drink. I go body armor, but the light version of it. Again, older, got to watch the calories, the intake, and everything. So I would usually crush a bottle of body armor, and that's my spitter. And then that way it's controlled, so I don't have to worry about spilling and everything like that. So that's usually where I would discharge my seeds is into an empty bottle of body armor. So
Okay, so
yeah,
we've got drink, we've got 2, you've got 3 more items left.
3 more. Oh, geez, Louise. One that's probably kind of disgusting a little bit, but I think it's kind of gross is the combos pretzels, the pizza flavored ones. So you know what those are with the stuff like fake cheese, fake
Yeah.
pepperoni inside the pretzel.
Why
I
is that
love
disgusting?
those. People don't tend to think they're the most healthy thing in the world and the most
But
delicious thing in the
this is
world.
not about health. This is about a journey to Nashville with Rubio and Corey Adams.
Yes, I know. I know. Well, obviously, you can tell I've had my annual physical recently, and the doctor is giving me some advice on where I'm at. So that's why health is kind of top of mind. But yeah, the pizza combo pretzels, I would say, is definitely up there, number three on the food standpoint. Um, Number 4, geez, I love a good beef jerky, but not just like the standard like Jack Links or anything like that. A homemade beef jerky. So more recently, my dad Herb, he killed an elk last fall, and so he gave us a bunch of elk. And actually, this past weekend, I took all the steaks that he gave me and turned them into jerky. So cut them up real thin, put them on the smoker for about 8 hours, and got a big tub of homemade jerky. So very delicious. That would be my 4th pick for
What
food.
seasoning? What's seasoning on the jerky?
So I did a lot of research, and
Of
a
course
lot
you
of
did.
them say like pour like Dr Pepper in there
Ooh.
to like give it a sweeter flavor and things like that. The one I found that seemed the easiest was just soy sauce and honey mixed together.
Okay, so hold
Um,
on. You're going soy sauce and you're still worried about your salt intake?
yeah, I know, man. It's a fine line I'm walking here. Okay, I'm
Okay. Yeah.
hoping that as I smoked them, it all just kind of evaporated eventually, right? Is my logic, my
Yeah.
theory. And then just salt, pepper, and some like crushed red pepper in there. Get a little heat on it.
Ooh.
And then I think I did some garlic powder and onion powder too. So it's kind of a concoction, throwing some things together. Turned out pretty good. Pretty happy with it. Gosh, last one. That's a good question. I would say
Can I advise you right now?
yes.
You've done nothing sweet. And maybe
That's
you're
a
not
good
a
point.
sweet guy, but it's most
Gosh,
people like to
I
throw in some sort of chocolate and or dessert or something.
You know, the perks of having kids is that anytime it's Halloween, Easter right around the corner, Christmas, is that they get all this candy from grandparents and friends and neighbors, and they get to eat about maybe 5% of that, and I get the rest of it. So I absolutely crush Reese's peanut butter cups. I don't
Oh,
care if the minis, the bigs, whatever it is, I absolutely destroy those. So maybe a bag of the mini Reese's peanut butter cups. And what I like to do is I bite off the bottom first to get all the peanut butter, and then I put the remaining disc at the top in after that. So that's a good final pick right there for the to top it off as a dessert. That's a good call.
now you do that bite off the bottom thing only with the minis, or do it with like the normal ones as well?
Only the minis. Only the minis. So the minis are a little bit deeper. They're like
Yeah. Okay.
they're deeper, so that you have the ability to do that. The regular ones, I just house it all in one bite. So
Now, do the classy cats that's he lives with all the classy cats? That's the Kansas State dance team, and he's got
yes.
19 little girls. Plus, his wife was the MVP of the classy cat. So I just call every female in his life a classy cat. Do the classy cats have they ever bought you like the 5 pound Reese's peanut butter cup, like the one that's like the size of a soup bowl?
No, I didn't know those existed.
Oh yeah, we'll
Oh,
have to send you one.
yeah, that would be fantastic. Yeah, no, they haven't done that. They also know that you know, anything that comes into the house that's sweet, I have first dibs on it, and I definitely pay the dad tax, and it's a high tax rate. I will tell you that much. So
As
yeah,
it should be. All right,
yes.
Corey, I want you to tell everyone about your long snapping journey. Where did you start? How did you get going? How did it basically quote unquote end?
Yeah. So, being class of 2007, that would make my freshman year of high school, 2004, 2003, something like that. And my brother's really good friend was the varsity lawn snapper. And I think Kevin was talking about how you could letter at your high school as a sophomore, Kevin Ballinger, when he was on here, talking about when you were a sophomore in high school, if you played a certain number of quarters or plays, whatever it is, you could earn a letter. And earning a letter as a sophomore was kind of a big deal, and I kind of saw that as my, the path of least resistance, because I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the most athletic, most coordinated, everything like that. So at practice freshman year, I grabbed the ball one-handed, threw it through my legs, came out as a spiral, and they said, "All right, you're our lawn snapper." So I went to my high school coach, and he had this thing called a VHS. I don't know if many of these people watching this will know what a VHS is, but it was from like the Pittsburgh Steelers long snapper back in the 1970s. And it was, him teaching how to do the follow through, like all the things, right? All the very fundamentals. So me and my dad heard, we watched it, we started practicing, and a lot of bad habits coming out of that, VHS, hitching, and all this stuff like that. But I went to a camp, a non-Rubio lawn snapping camp, just to kind of get an idea of what it was. And then I would say maybe 2 weeks later, I went to my locker at school, and there was a envelope sticking out of my locker. And another thing that people probably don't know about, it was a brochure from Rubio lawn snapping. And kudos to the businessman Chris Rubio, probably scouring other sites and seeing who's attending other camps, and as you're starting up your business, trying to expand your reach and everything, and open up the pamphlet. Very well done, very well marketed, very handsome instructor, bald head, goatee, and
Nice.
so it was for the, I think, fourth annual Vegas event, I think is what it was. And my dad's like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, we'll give it a shot." I remember showing up. I think I showed up late because I had a basketball game the Friday night before, and I was a junior or sophomore or junior, something like that. And you could only fit me in with the seniors.
Mhm.
And you're like, "Hey, man, I don't know if you're a good fit for the seniors, upperclassmen." My dad's like, "He'll figure it out. Just put him in." And so I remember showing up, and like I don't think people realize how far Rubio lawn snapping has come, because I think the total number of kids at Vegas 4 was like 50 or something like that, right? It was tiny in comparison to what today is. And so I go through the camp. You were very gracious. The instructors, Tyler Schmidt from San Diego State, Seattle Seahawks draft pick, Casey Hales from Duke, Johnny Weeks, of course, of the Houston Texans, and from Baylor, and then Matt Purvis from Iowa State.
Yeah.
So four instructors. That's all you had. Four instructors and you. And so go to the camp, and Saturday was the instruction. Sunday was the competition. Target, all the stuff like that. But it was completely different because Event Elite was you got called back for that night to come back and snap, right? And it wasn't a different camp in the summer or anything like that. It was come back tonight and you'll come snap. I didn't realize that it was in front of college coaches. And so it was such a cool environment because, we're out there warming up, whatever. And then all of a sudden you see a wave of coaches coming out onto the field to watch you snap, kick, punt, whatever it is, 3 feet away from you. I mean, it was essentially like a combine or a pro day, right? And I remember you calling me out and you say, hey, snap the ball. And there's like teams like USC, Kansas State, Georgia, like big time colleges at this camp. And it kind of blew me away a little bit. Like, this is pretty cool. Coming out of that camp, you ranked me #1 in my class, and, never turned back away from Rubio lawn snapping at that point. So, had an opportunity to get 5 offers, through Rubio lawn snapping, ended up going to Kansas State. And then from there, the year I came out was the year of the lockout. So it's a little bit, untraditional in terms of how lawn snappers usually, land on teams. It's rare to get drafted as a lawn snapper, traditionally undrafted free agent. So once the final draft pick happened, I think April 30th or whatever it was my agent pretty much called me and said, okay, now we just sit around and wait until the lockout ends. So my lease on my apartment in Kansas ran out. So I moved back home to Colorado, living with my parents. Tried to stay in shape, work out in my high school gym and everything. And then the lockout ended, and I think like 4 hours later, got a call from the Cowboys and went down there for training camp. So had the opportunity to play in a couple of preseason games for the Cowboys, and then spend some time in the preseason for the Falcons and the Broncos as well. And then eventually had to grow up and get a real job and stuff like that. But still had the opportunity to work as an instructor with you and Finch and Ballinger, and travel the country, had some really, really good times. Had a summit up in Lewiston to, kind of, come up with some new ideas and things like that, which is really cool too. So, but yeah, that's kind of where it's been, and still stay in touch with you and Finch daily, not as long as the Pen Pals group chat, but it's been going on for, gosh, 8 years, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while, but yeah.
So the Capitalist Task Force.
Capitalist Task Force, yeah. And I would say out of all the things we talk about, I would say lawn snapping is probably 1% of it. So it's a lot of just life and work, and sometimes I rant in there about some things, and John and Chris are just there to egg me on a little bit. So yeah, no, that's and now we're here. So
yeah, that was a great little summation, a great summary. Yeah, Vegas used to be so wild when the NCAA used to allow colleges to come to that camp, and the Saturday and early Sunday, everyone would basically be just competing against one another. And then Sunday afternoon / evening, I would basically choose, say, the top 20, 25 kids, and they would be brought back. And combine is a good way to put it. I always said it was kind of like an auction where you're like a horse going out in front of everyone. Okay, I want to see this kid snap. And there was the coach literally right there. And so, yeah, that was wild. Corey, I want you to tell me about one time you've had something hard happen in your life, and how did you get over it? Like, something difficult came up, and how did you get over it?
Oh gosh, honestly, the first thing that comes in mind is when I was with Dallas. 4 years of high school, no bad snaps. 4 years of college, no bad snaps. First team All-American. Senior year of college, all the things, and go to the NFL, and the holder moves from 7 to 8 yards, right? And so people know from Ace Ventura, laces out, all the things like that. So I was struggling to get laces out at 8 yards. At 7, I was perfect every single time, laces out, no issues. But that extra yard put an extra half rotation on my ball. And I really struggled with snapping the ball without having the laces on my dominant hands. I could do it in practice. I would say maybe 70% of the time, 80% of the time, whatever it was. Punt snaps, I didn't have an issue with, right? Snapping and blocking and getting up. I felt like I was athletic enough to be able to handle the rushes and things like that. But for whatever reason, those 8 yards just gave me a really hard time. So my first preseason game, we're playing the Broncos, and the special teams coach for the Broncos was my special teams coach in college my sophomore year, Jeff Rogers. So Rogers, he brought Aaron Brewer to Denver. Now Jeff's in Arizona. He brought Aaron with him to Arizona. So Jeff's a great guy. But see him on the field pregame, go up to him, give him a hug, say what's up. And the first thing he says to me is, "I'm going to run your ass over the first chance I get." And so I'm like, great. And so game starts. I have a couple of punt snaps in the first half. I think how we split it up was LP, who was the longtime snapper for the Cowboys, had the short snaps in the first half. I had the punts, and vice versa in the second. And then in the second half, Dwayne Harris, who was returner for the Cowboys, either had a long kickoff return, punt return, or something like that. Sudden change, and scores a touchdown. And as I'm running onto the field, all I can hear is, "First chance I get, I'm going to run your ass over." And so I get my feet set, and it's kind of a swinging gate huddle. So, the rest of the group's over to the left, whatever it is. And I look up across from me, and I'm pretty sure it was like, Terrence Knighton and Derek Wolfe, like standing across from me. So probably 900 pounds of human, maybe 800 pounds of human lining up across from me. And all I could think about is like, oh man, this is going to suck. And so I get down, I get my feet set, and the holder was Chris Jones, who was a punter for the Cowboys for a long time. And the kicker was Dan Bailey, who was a Sailor product. He was a Lou Groza Award winner, I believe, from Oklahoma State, and he kicked for the Cowboys forever, right? And so we were all rookies together. And I looked through I do the classic Rubio thing, looking over my shoulder. Dan starts going back, to the side. And I get down, I get set, and my hands just default to grabbing the laces. And I start messing with the ball. And last thing you want to do is what? Think, right? Just react. And so all of a sudden, I look through my legs and I can see, Dan has finished his steps. And all this is happening within a second. But in my mind, it's taking a year. You have a similar story, right? Where the guy from Cal said, "Just snap the damn ball," right?
Yeah.
And so I finally made the decision. All right, Corey, if you want to make this team, you got to get laces out. So I went with, dominant hand off the lace, laces on top. And, Chris gives me the go. And one hand decides to go, one hand doesn't, and the ball just rolls back. So 8 years of football, first bad snap in my whole life. Heck of a time to have it, right? So, that'll kind of rattle you a little bit.
Okay, hold on. Did you get your ass ran over?
No. And so the best part was I go back and watch film, and Jeff sent his 2 tackles and looped around. So they didn't even touch me. And so I snapped the ball, and I wasn't even touched the whole time. So he just made me a mental midget, with how he talked to me before the game. But I mean, you always hear Rubio talk about don't think, just snap, everything like that. I mean, that's exhibit A for exactly that. But so then, I'm coming off the field, and there's a lot of guys like, John Kitna was the backup to Romo at the time. He was like, "Hey, don't worry about it." Keith Brooking, all these guys like, "Hey, keep your head up, you're fine." The special teams coach, Joe DeCamillis, who was notorious for being, one of the strictest and kind of toughest coaches, wouldn't talk to me for 3 days. And so we're sitting in film, the next day we had off, I think, and then we're sitting in film, and it gets to that play, and he just lets it run, fast forwards through it. He's like, "Can't have this," and goes to the next play. So then the next preseason game, we're playing the Chargers, and right at kickoff, the assistant special teams coach comes over to me, and he's like, "Hey, LP's got all the short snaps." I'm like, "All right." I'm like, "Okay." So writing's on the wall. I know what's going to happen, right? And so my girlfriend, now wife, was in town for the Chargers game, and we go out to dinner, after the game, whatever. The next day we had an off day, and I actually had a snap for a workout for Shane Graham was coming in to kick as a backup. And the next morning, Carrington, my wife, is still in town. 5 a.m., get a knock on the door, just like Hard Knocks. "Hey, coach wants to see you. Bring your playbook." So went down, talked to Coach Garrett. Classic spiel. "Hey, you can't have that. Best of luck, whatever." Get out of that meeting, 5:15, whatever it is. here's your airline ticket. You got 15 minutes to go pack your bags, all this stuff. So go pack my bags, go to the airport, texted my girlfriend, wife, hey, got cut. Hey, I'm on my way home. Hey, all this stuff. I had landed back in Colorado before she even woke up. So she was like, she woke up and she was like, what happened? So, she was obviously going home. But so that, kind of, that was a tough situation. And
Yeah.
you still want to succeed and try and continue to long snap, right? At a high level. So had a couple of workouts after that, was able to sign a futures contract with the Falcons. But the thing that I think really what I'm trying to get to is coming out of that is it's so easy to like kind of look back and say, what did I do wrong? All this stuff, and let it kind of stew in your head. Where the mindset you really need to have is, having a very short memory about it and kind of just saying, okay, what's next? Like, next play up, next man up type of mentality. And it doesn't just apply to sports. I mean, it applies to school. If I get a bad grade on a test, what do I got to do to fix it? And, kind of how do I improve myself going forward? It happens at work. If I mess something up, okay, what do I learn from it and how can I improve going forward? And so that really was a big lesson learned for me, is like, okay, you don't have to always think about what could I have done better. It's what can I learn from it and how can I apply that, for my future, experiences. The other thing that it kind of helped me with is this whole story I told you. I probably didn't talk about it for 5 years, 7 years after it happened. I just kind of kept it all in. And then I remember, I think you asked me to run the New Jersey camp for you one time, and then maybe 2019, something like that, with Joe Shimko, Billy Taylor, Zach Taylor, all things like that. And as I was spraying, as I am now, I just kind of naturally told the story. And after I was done telling it, I realized how much better I felt about it, right? And so, in the world that we live today, and you do a lot of content around mental health, and everything like that. Just being able to talk about it to somebody, whoever, and just kind of get it off your chest really does help a ton. And now having young kids in the world that they live in with, all the stuff they have to deal with, being able there just to say, hey, I'm here to listen to you, whatever you have to say. And, just try to be an outlet for them with no repercussions or anything like that. Just be here to hear, listen to them. So kind of a couple of things that came out of that situation that I try to apply in my day-to-day life.
I love that. Okay. So on the flip side, everyone wants to know, parents and their kids, how did you handle stressful situations on the field or in the business world? Like how did you handle stress?
Yeah, great question. So in college, I can tell you this, my very first game was down at Auburn. And Rubio, you've been to, Monument, Colorado, very small town. I think, Rubio came out for my signing day, surprised me out there. And I think the biggest crowd I played in front of in high school was maybe 1,500 or 2,000 people, right? You go down to Auburn, 90,000 people, nationally broadcasted, a little bit different environment. And all I remember was just having a routine, and specifically music that I listened to that I would just kind of play over and over it again in my head. So always the last song I listened to before I went out for a game was Float On by Modest Mouse. And it's kind of just calm melody, but the message is like, hey, no matter what happens, we're going to be all right. Like everything's going to be okay. And so, having that kind of, melody and just kind of, message in your head kind of calmed my nerves a little bit. Now in the work world, what I try to do is that, I try to make sure that I, plan and communicate as much as I can, because the one thing I absolutely hate in my professional life is, when surprises come up that I'm not aware of. Because I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job of communicating with my team, asking them what's going on. I don't have to be in the weeds of everything, but I just need to know, like, high level. Tell me that. Oh God, here's corporate talk. So the other thing for the group is my nickname.
Got to get out of the weeds, Corey. Got to get out of the weeds.
Oh gosh, 30,000 foot view. So Finch and Rubio call me Corporate Corey because I throw this terminology. It's just part of me now. And
so bad. I'm embarrassed for you right now.
I know I am too. I'm sweating thinking about it. But it's really kind of over communicating and being aware of everything that's going on. And I know like when you are running Vegas, right, you have 10,000 things to think about, right? And so that's where you have to clearly articulate as well as you can what the expectations are. And I can't tell for the people on the watching this video the detailed level of agendas that Rubio would give us instructors. And it was literally like step with your left foot, step with your right. I mean, it was literally step by step on how to do certain drills, how to speak to campers and the parents and everything like that. And it was if you mess it up, you pretty much can't chew gum and walk at the same time, really. So it was I take a lot of what you've taught me, what Coach Snyder at K-State has taught me in terms of like just over preparing, kind of always being 2 steps ahead of what things could go on and just have a plan in place for it. So
I love that. All right, final question. You and I'm up in Kansas City, Kansas, wherever you live, Missouri, Kansas. I still can't figure it out. That whole area. The Classy Cats are at a dance recital. They're gone. Just you and I. Okay. We've got one meal.
Yeah.
It could be like a 4-hour meal.
Yeah.
And we have the magic wand to where you're either cooking for me. I want to know start to finish, or are we going to a very specific restaurant anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
Where
in the world, and not just
in the
Kansas
world
City?
that you've been?
Okay.
That you can say like, okay, we're going blank. Here's what we're getting, or I'm cooking for you. Here's what I'm cooking. You go.
Whew. Can I answer both? Because
no,
golly. So not to play favorites to Kansas City, but there's this one restaurant here. I'm not very well traveled, really, so I can't say anywhere in the world. But there's this one restaurant here in Kansas City called Q39, and it's a barbecue place, and it is the best barbecue I've ever had in my life. And just from the appetizers with like the cheesy, mac and cheese, the fried mushrooms, just not a fan.
I'm not a big shrooms fan, but keep going.
Okay, fried. There's plenty of options, but their ribs and sausage and burnt ends and brisket, it's like award-winning barbecue, and it is. If I could eat there 5 days a week, I would. It's just so darn good, and so I think I would love to take you there and experience that meal because it is hands down my favorite restaurant. Absolutely.
How are the desserts there?
Dude, so you get like the classic, like, banana cream pie, like, like the Southern desserts, right? And so those are the things that I just absolutely crush when it comes to food like that. Just, stuff you would see like your mom make or your grandma make that I think just resonates so well with the palate and the stomach and everything.
Yeah, that's what I was in New Jersey last week or the week before. And same thing with the South. Their food is so good that you almost have to respect anyone that's not 300 pounds. Like, how are you not a fat ass with food this good? Like, I just don't get it. Like, because you walk into any place, especially in New Jersey. I mean, anywhere I went, every place the food was better than the last, and the last food wasn't terrible. So I'm like, this is unbelievable. Okay, I'm gonna let you back up to this one. If you were gonna cook for me, what are you cooking?
So I kind of on the same brand, but I smoke a lot of meats. I talked about the jerky earlier and everything, but my favorite thing to smoke is tri-tip. And so I like to smoke a good tri-tip and then sear it at the end to get a nice crust on the outside. Medium rare temperature, of course, on the inside. And then I always like to pair it up with a nice Caesar salad. I love some asparagus, rice, and then for desserts, there's a ice cream shop like right around the corner called Andy's, and I usually get the banana split from there, and it just absolutely just blows my mind. So that's kind of my go-to. And I'm actually my wife Carrington. So this last Sunday, I was at a master's watch party with some of the dads.
Humble brag.
Yeah. And I set a tri-tip and I guess kind of texted her step-by-step instructions of how to smoke it, sear it, cook it, everything like that. And she absolutely knocked it out of the park. So, kudos to her on being able to, it wasn't, tacos or anything like that, but it was very, very good. So,
Classic cats always coming through.
yes,
Corey
yes,
Adams, I appreciate your time. I know you don't have a lot of it. I really, really do appreciate it. Corey Adams, #1 for 2007.
yes,
An
yes.
accomplished
Thank you.
businessman slash father of 9 classy cats. Um, Corey Adams, everyone. Thank you very much, Corey.
Thank you, sir.